Mayor Connie Ball.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bill Costner.
Here.
Alderman John Bud.
Here.
Alderman Freddie Gregg.
Here.
Alderwoman Kathy Holt.
Here.
Alderman Kenny Morgan.
Here.
Administrator James Fincham.
Here.
Attorney Terry Hurst.
Here.
Under new business, item A is consideration of resolution 2013-6. This is the resolution adopting a plan of services for tax map 46, parcel 81 by the town of Newport, Tennessee. Council, what's your pleasure?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed is no. I hear none. Item B is consideration of ordinance 2013-6, an ordinance to amend the annexation ordinance number 2008-6. This ordinance will remove the Tennessee Tobacco Sales Incorporated property from annexation area number 2 for property fronting on Highway 2570 from Falcon Industries to Underwood Road. Is there anything you have to read on that?
Well, Mayor, normally I do read the caption. You basically read it, but I'm going to read it again just to be on the safe side. It is an ordinance to amend annexation ordinance number 2008-6 to remove the Tennessee Tobacco Sales, Incorporated property from the annexation area number 2 for property fronting on Highway 25W/70 from Falcon Industries to Underwood Road. And of course, this will be the second reading.
The second reading. Do we have a motion to approve that ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed is no. I hear none. Item C, consideration of ordinance 2013-7, an ordinance to annex certain territory and to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the town of Newport, known as the Tennessee Tobacco Sales Incorporated property.
And again, Mayor, that's ordinance 2013-7, the caption, an ordinance to annex certain territory and to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the town of Newport, known as the Tennessee Tobacco Sales Incorporated property.
Do we have a motion to approve that item?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed is no. I hear none. Item D is consideration of resolution 2013-7, an initial resolution authorizing the issuance not to exceed $5,534,000 of general obligation bonds of the city of Newport, Tennessee. That's open for discussion.
James, have you had time to review it, or?
Yes, and it's still kind of it's a moving target. It's a number that has fluctuated daily. What I was asked to do, just to clarify, was to first of all look at the debt service and project out with long-term debt, short-term debt that has rolled off this year, things that we've paid off, what the long-term analysis would be when you factor in the 5.5. And based on, and this number, the number I've got right now, I just got like 45 minutes ago. So anybody that may have called that I've not shared that with, that's why, because it has been a moving number. And it has fluctuated every time I've gotten new information. It has fluctuated because it's been really hard to gain information. A lot of the amortization things I didn't have. I had to finally got some from the auditor. Some of the numbers are based on the original rate of loans that when we took them 10 years ago, and it's a variable rate, and that rate's different. So that's what really I got only a little while ago that changed this number. On the debt, based on what I have now, and I feel like that this is accurate. I'm feeling for the first time, I'm feeling confident about a number that I've got. If you take on, based on everything you've got right now, and the way that things roll off and the new debt goes into play, it won't be till the end. Of course, you have construction costs that you pay back on the construction loan as you draw down while you're building the library. And so your full amount, you don't start paying until the library's finished. And that's why you've got 3 loans here. One's to move forward, one's your short-term construction loan, and one's your long-term debt. When the long-term debt kicks in, and this will vary a little bit as the way it was explained to me, and I apologize because I've had a crash course in all this. It's worse than any college final you ever crammed for, trying to get all this down in 2 weeks. But the rate, they can't give you a hard rate, and I don't know if any of them are here and they could jump in and explain it better than me, some of the guys from Cumberland. But until they bid those out, I can't give you a hard rate. This is an estimate-based number here. The payment, which would be an annual payment of $242,500 on the library if you move forward with it as it stands. But
How many years?
it's
38 years. Board development loans are done. My name is Scott Gaines, Homeland Security. Board development loans are really 40-year loans that you get from the federal government, of which the first 2 years is the interim financing, the short-term debt that you get during the construction period. Once the construction is finished, the government takes that short-term debt and converts it to a long-term loan, and that loan is for 38 years. So they treat it as a 40, but 2 years of construction is typical, and so as soon as they take it out, you have 38 years to pay back the loan, and they usually do it in a monthly payment over that 38 years. So they'll set up a debit of your checking account and just hit your account every month. Usually, it's the way it's done.
You've got 2 right now that are along the same line. The 2 loans that were done for the transfer station, they were both the same thing. One of them rolls off in 2050 and one in 2049. So that's some long-term debt. But
2049.
yeah. So anyway, trying to be concise here, and I apologize for not having copies of this for you because I literally just printed this off right before the meeting, and I apologize I don't have you all a copy of this.
Board development loans are fixed, so you have a rate that has been quoted
Yes.
currently to the city from the U.S. government. That rate won't go up, and actually if rates go down more in the future, which they probably won't, but if they do, you have the potential to lock in even the lower rate in the future. So what's the rate today? I am.
It was 3 point something.
3.25.
I don't, all I've got is my spreadsheet. I didn't bring in, I've got a file that thick now that I've got on all these things, and I didn't bring all those in. I just brought in my spreadsheet that's got the main number on it. Because like I say, I just printed this thing off 30 minutes ago.
For 38 years, I think the rate's 3.25. That's actually a below market rate in today's economy. So the good thing about a rural development loan also is that once you take it out, you have the ability to prepay all or a portion of it at your convenience. So if you choose, it is such a long loan, but if you were to, for example, after a few years, if you had some extra money become available, if you wanted to pay an extra, $10,000 a year or $1,000 a month or something like that, you could apply to the loan just like a home mortgage, and they would reduce the principal down and shorten the loan up over time. So
thereby reducing interest rates.
the rate would stay the same, but you would reduce the total interest cost over time by reducing the principal amount.
Is there a limit of time? We have been approved for it, but is there a limit, a time limit on when we have to sign documents for the official documents to carry on?
The next step is to, once you adopt the resolutions tonight, we will submit those back to rural development, and they'll go back through their own processes. You're on track to, basically, you have approval for the loan, so you're on track. As long as you want to continue to move forward and build your library, you will be able to get the financing from rural development. So, is that your question?
Well, is there a deadline saying 6 months if we haven't officially done something, the loan becomes void?
No. Rural development will continue to work with you to make sure you get all, and there is a very big list of stuff that you have to check off.
Right.
This comes from the federal government. Once you get everything checked off, then you get the permission from rural development to move forward to put your interim financing in place, start construction, and then once the construction's done, you can take the construction loan out with the rural development loan.
Okay.
So it will be you know, it could be 2.5, 3 years before, I'm not sure how fast you're gonna move, but, I mean, even if you started today, you're not gonna start construction for a few more months at best, so, you know, you're talking 2.5 years before you even take the loan out, probably permanently, so. And on the interim financing, there will be some interest costs, whatever, where that interim financing is, rates are really low today, so it shouldn't be that bad, so.
Now, this resolution will only move it forward. We won't be obligated until we spend a dime. We're not obligated for anything.
Now, you have 3 resolutions. The first one is the initial resolution tonight, which is a state law issue. You have to publish the notice in the paper on that. And then you have the other 2 resolutions. One is authorizes the issuance of the bonds of 5.5 million some change to rural development at some point, which after the interim financing in place. But you have to have that in place first. And then the second resolution is an interim financing resolution so that we can help you either with local banks or through competitive public sales to go out and raise $5.5 million to do the construction. So, and that resolution is set up to go both ways so that we have the flexibility to do what's in the best interest of the city.
So, in looking ahead, we're not obligated for anything that we break ground and spend the first dime.
Now, even if you pass the resolutions tonight, we're just kind of walking down the road. So, you have more steps to complete to get rural development final sign off. And if you ever decide to change and not do the library or the other projects, you can just say no. We're done. So.
Okay. And I know this question's come up before too. That in time, as we're proceeding forward with this, if there's donations that come in, then we take that off the top, and we wouldn't. That could make our payment lower as time goes on, depending on the amount of the donations.
So just like I mentioned earlier, the rural development loan is prepayable at any time.
Okay.
So you can make the next monthly payment out of those donations, or you can apply those donations to the retirement of the principal of the loan, whatever that amount may be.
Okay.
Reduce the number of years.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyway. What I was tasked with doing was to look and see, as I understood it, is the debt service, what's it going to look like when this debt becomes permanent? And I calculated that based on the 15-16 fiscal year. And so with what's in the budget now, with the way it's budgeted, it was not going to be a wash or or come out to the good. It was going to be a net loss, an increase. But what we found during the course of this, and this is something we need to address in the future, 2 of these loans, the grammar school and the city hall renovation, were done on variable rates. And the numbers that were plugged into the budget were the numbers that were on the amortization. And we only caught this, we caught this today. And that's why this number changed today that I had. The amortization list that we've been using breaks down your payment by the term of the length of the loan. And it has your principal payment each year, and it has your interest payment, and it has the total at the end. In the budget, when we break those down in the budget, under the debt service, you'll have a line item for principal, and you'll have a line item for interest. Okay, for whatever reason, since we had first did that project, evidently, I've not went back and researched, but for the 3 years that's on the printout I have, we have been plugging in that original number on interest. Okay, those loans are on a variable rate. And so that rate, everybody knows what the rates have done. These loans were done like in, one was like in 2001, one was like in 2002 or 3, 4, somewhere in there. And the rates have dropped dramatically since then. And so what I found was that we budgeted for the grammar school and interest, we budgeted $200,650 in interest. But what we actually, and I'm going to tell you, I didn't find this, Julia did, okay? But we were digging through this trying to get everything where we had a hard, accurate number on everything, and it's been a struggle, I just tell you. But the staff's done great. I get a plug for them. I've really pushed them and bugged them because I had 2 weeks to get all this together, and they've had to really call everywhere and dig and hunt and create to get me where I am, and I couldn't have done it without them. But anyway, we budgeted $200,650. We actually paid in interest, $37,577. So that's a net gain in the debt service of $163,072. And on the on the City Hall renovation, we budgeted $20,245, and we actually spent. And this is projected out. We pay it by the month, and this is projecting it out through the end of the fiscal year, both of these numbers. We actually spent $5,616.80, which is a net savings of $14,628.44, which together comes to a net savings of $177,700. So when you factor it, that's a long way to get to where I'm going, but when you factor in that savings that was not in the budget, and you factor in what rolls off, and you take on the new debt, you'll be at 15/16. The debt service would be at $102,862 to the good, better than it is now. But what you're going to have to do is, you're going to have to, on these loans, it's got this variable rate. You're going to have to redo them and lock them things in, because if they start going up on you, this net savings goes away. And so you're going to have to redo those loans. It's my recommendation, and I've talked to the guys, there's another guy that came and talked to me. He and I talked about that the other day. We need to get out from under these variable rates, because he projects that they're probably going to stay low, and you can correct if you disagree, but he said 2, maybe 3 years, and you're going to see them go back up. So you've got about a 2. I would feel comfortable with a 1 to 2 year window to try to get out from under these variable rates to lock in this savings, because that's based on today's rates, and you can lock that savings in. Now, the bad news. There's the good. The bad news is I've also got the girls working on the revenue stream for this year. And as of about lunch today, we are, based on what Julia has told me, we're probably about $200,000 to $250,000 down from projected revenue for the year. So that offsets this 177 in savings. But now she's not done. It's a long list, but we went through. The sales tax is where we took the hit. We're about $150,000 down on sales tax, or maybe a little more than that. And the property tax is a little up. Some other things are up, and some things are down. And there's a long list of things that you go through, and a ton of paperwork that you got to go through to generate that number. But we've got a spreadsheet in place that we are getting the numbers on. That's going to give us a bottom line on where we are, but we can get a pretty good number on our revenue. But right now, our revenue is not on track. It's down. It's close to $300,000 where she was at when we gave up today, a little after lunch. So that's the facts.
At this point, why don't we just wait till we do the budget to see exactly where we stand with everything before we commit to anything? Because we're so close to being there.
As far as me, all I can give you is hard numbers. The hard numbers is right now, me personally, I like having a hard number. And I think y'all deserve a hard number to look at. But that's y'all's call, and we do what you do. It's my job to provide you numbers, and y'all got the hard job of making decisions. And I wouldn't begin to give you a recommendation on what kind of decision to make. But me personally, I like dealing with hard numbers. And I am a little concerned. I was surprised. I thought that, the sales tax, everything that we'd kind of heard was sales taxes are really looking good. But when Julia plugged those numbers in on that spreadsheet, she said they were down, like 150,000. And so, and overall it's close, like say for everything it's up around, it was 2-something, 250, 260, something like that. Overall, that was just sales tax.
Are you comfortable, James, with looking at it through the budget, then possibly giving a recommendation?
If I can get to where I've got a hard number, I could tell you what you're looking at, If it wasn't for the sales tax, I think you'd be. I was so happy. I'm gonna tell you, when we found this number here, because I was till this afternoon, I was in the red on the debt service. And so I was so happy when we found that, and it put us that far in the black on the debt service, because I thought, man, we are in gravy. You know, we're in much better shape than we ever thought. But then when we started getting those other numbers in on finance, then my happiness went away. So, I mean, like I say, all I can give you is hard numbers, you know, and I can't, I mean, right now I don't have, that is a hard number on the debt service. I feel good about that. And for the first time since I've been working on it for 2 weeks, I finally, like I say, about 30 minutes before the meeting started, I had this number. And I finally, but then the other, and it is still a work in progress, the revenue part, and you know, the first day on the job, I asked for these kind of things, but they had to be generated. There wasn't any, that was not, you know, they was just not a resource that I could just lay my hands on.
There was no files?
We've spent 2 weeks generating these spreadsheets.
What do you think by the next board meeting, if we put it off 2 to 3 weeks to our regular meeting?
I feel confident that I can give you a hard number on revenue.
Okay, would it be all right to just put that on hold here?
If that's y'all's choice.
And you can have some hard figures?
Here would be my recommendation. This is not obligating us to anything. This is just a step to start moving us in that direction. Then at a point in time, if we determine through the money issues we can't afford it, then that would be a different story. But just to move the process along without obligating us, and what's your opinions, council? I mean, that's the way I'm seeing what we're doing here. This is just a step that obligates us to nothing at this point in time.
Well, that sounds good if that's what it means.
Terry, is that the way?
I would agree with you that, A, there are more steps to do, and you still have to sign the bottom line at some point when you actually borrow the money, or you can not sign, you know, tell them we're not going to sign the money, we're signing the bottom line. And 2, until you issue the debt, this council also has the ability to come back and rescind the adoption of the resolutions if you want to take a formal action to undo the project before we move forward. So I would agree with you that this is just one step in the process, and you can always undo this if you adopt them tonight. But this would give rural development, you could send this off to rural development, and they can go start doing some more of their stuff they need to do to keep moving down the line, so that if you do decide to move forward, you don't get delayed even more, and we can keep moving forward. If you decide, you know, it's easy to pick a phone and say we're not doing it, but if you want to keep moving forward, there are multiple steps that take a while to kind of jump through all those hoops.
Well, that would be my recommendation.
And I would concur that, it's my opinion, I don't think this obligates us in any way, that if we determine we can't afford it, then we can stop the process at any time. And understand that when you're going through any governmental organization, it takes a while. Just having done the, helping with the loan with the transfer station, that was a long and involved process, that there's a lot of steps you have to jump through. So I think the mayor's correct that if the council so desires to go ahead with this initial process.
Do you know what the debt ratio is when this is completed?
I just got this number, like I say, 30 minutes before the meeting. I hadn't been able to get to that.
Do you know what it is now?
No,
What are you asking?
The debt ratio?
Like fixed the variable?
No, what our debt is right now?
The debt ratio is part of our budget.
Yeah.
You know, you and I talked about that, and you had a number, and that was the first number I'd heard. I have not delved into that at all. I've been really focused on all this other stuff.
I know you've been covered up, and I appreciate it. I know we've had a bunch of questions. So.
You have to have this if there were no loan imminent even. The stuff he's going to give you, you need to know anyway, running the city. So that's critical, I think.
And I want council to know and the public to know, I just want to move the process forward to some point in time. I don't want at any point in time to get the city in a bind where we can't pay for what we're doing. So, but I know it takes a long time to get this thing going, and that's just mainly my concern. If it gets to the point in time where we see that we can't do it when all the numbers are put together, then as long as we've not signed, we're not obligated.
The only other question I have, James, is on you said the sales tax is down?
That's what Julia has told me. I went over and met with Rob Mathis this morning, he brought me of course, he brings a check once a month for our portion. And he brought I went over and met with him this morning, and he showed me the formula that he uses to calculate that out and where all the money goes and everything. And that was something that we had not been receiving from him along with our check. And I asked him to go back to the first, I asked him, I like looking at numbers 2 years back. That's what I like doing. I like to look at the previous 2 years, how this year stacks up with the previous 2 years, and you can see a trend. So everything, when I've asked people for stuff, I've asked, well, if you, first of all, could you give me those numbers back to the first of this fiscal year, July 1? And it's always, sure, no problem. But then when I say, well, could you give me last year's, well, that's a problem. So I'm not going to be able to do that. I'd hope to, but I'm not. I'm just going to have to start with this fiscal year, so I don't have those back years on everything that I would like to look at. But anyway, I met with Rob, and he's going to start bringing us that. He brought it over this afternoon that shows all of it for this year, and he's going to bring that for people the check he brought today and forward. And Julia started going through, and she found what we had brought in for from the first of the fiscal year, and she calculated that out and looked at where it was and calculated out what the rest of the fiscal year would do based on kind of an average of what we've been taking in. And based on the average of what we've taken in through what we got today and forecasting that out for the rest of the year, then that put us at that number of being down about 100, and I'm going to say 140 or 50,000.
So you're saying by the end of fiscal, we would be short?
Yeah, we're short.
On a projected budget?
Well, we're short, yeah, right.
Okay.
James, on this interest rate variable, you think we need to start on that pretty quick?
Yeah, Mr. Overman and I talked about that, and he said that as soon as we get past these loans right here, that it would be his recommendation that we start working on trying to get those things into a fixed rate.
And they can help us with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, based on this conversation tonight, I'm going to help. I think I can help y'all figure out exactly where you are. I didn't realize that this discussion was not already been prepared or not, but we will go back and help the city figure out exactly where you are and where you're going, and put some graphs together and some numbers and make sure that it works. And if it doesn't work, we'll let you know that too, and maybe a way to solve it or fix it or other ways to consider, addressing the problem. So we will go back and help y'all do that after maybe over the next couple of weeks as you continue to work through the budget process. So.
See, Mr. Edelman when he and I had our conversation, this was almost 2 weeks ago now. He was one of the first, he's like about the second or third day I was in the office. He came in and we had like a 2-hour meeting. And he brought up the variable rates. And he just said we didn't talk about amounts because we hadn't picked up on this difference in what we were budgeting and what we were paying at that time, and it wasn't a result of his meeting. It was just that he said that in researching our debt, he had found we had some variable rate loans, and he would recommend we get out of those because the rates are going to start going up. And I asked him at that point, I said, well, would we have any savings? And he said, well, long-term you would, but not current, because the rates are not going to get any lower, but you'd keep them from going up. And so that was why we had the conversation at that time. He was just saying that variable rate loans right now make no sense, and if you've got any, you need to get rid of them. But we only found the numbers on the difference in what we budgeted and what we spent today. So I'll be clear on that.
How often are the variable ones adjusted?
I'm not sure if it's month, is it weekly? I thought it was maybe monthly, but I wasn't sure. I know it's pretty rapid.
Okay.
With that knowledge, though, you can plan, say in a year and a half. Today, when you have that knowledge you're giving them, you can say, okay, maybe in a year and a quarter, it's the time to start evolving out of those variable rates. I'm in the financial business.
Well, Mr. Oman said he felt confident that the rates were going to stay stable for 2 years, possibly 3, but he said beyond that, he felt like they were going to start to climb.
And of course, when we first applied for the USDA, they did their own investigation of our
At that time.
At the same time,
right,
to determine whether we could afford it or not, or else they wouldn't have even offered this opportunity.
Right. And same way now. They have done that now. They have come in and evaluated us. And of course, Mr. Collins was in on all that. I'm not privy to any of that. But they came in my conversations with Robert Campbell, the engineer, he said that, that they had done that on this loan, that they came in and they have done a study, and based on their study, and I think that's where that debt ratio number probably came from, I'm just speculating, that they said that, based on the debt ratio and our current income and all that kind of thing, that we were good with it. I mean, they won't, it's like any lender, except maybe some of those that got caught up in 2008 with some of that junk. Most of them are not going to come in and loan you money if they don't think you can pay it back. And so when they come in and they evaluate you and they say, yeah, you can afford this, of course, that's based on current numbers and no bad luck and all that kind of stuff, which you can't ever know about.
What numbers did you end up putting in for the annexation?
I still have not been able to come up with that. Scott and I talked today, and he told me some places to look to try to find that, and I could not find it. And so Mark should have it, I hope. He's been in school all week. He should be back tomorrow, and hopefully I can get that there. Right now, I do not have the number.
Now, those projected numbers for the annexation, I think some of the girls in the office put that together, and I sent that to y'all. The projected revenue from annexation area 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on.
Now, Mr. Collins told me that he had provided you a copy of it.
Yeah, I had sent that to you at one time, back during that 3-week span. Huh?
Do you remember what the numbers were?
I think it was a total of $147,000. But at that point in time, I don't think we had area 1, and it seemed like it was around 30,000. It's been a long day, and I don't know if I'm all that sharp on that, but it did come in a package that I had y'all sent during that 3-week span when I was trying to adjust things. So,
Freddie, do you remember when we did those projections, if that monies came out for those 2 positions for Johnny some years ago when Ben said he would have to have 2 more positions, and we talked about putting those 2 positions in, coming out of that monies? Do you remember? That's why I'm asking, because if that is, then that comes off of that 140-something thousand instead of it being a net gain. We'd have to, you're paying 2 positions out of that.
I believe you're right.
Is that what it was? Do you remember?
There was some discussion about that. I recall that.
Now, another thing to be, and I'll have to double check on this, because like I say, we've been going over so much so fast that the girls have, and the increase in the lieu of from NUB, I'm not sure if she's factored that in yet or not. Like I say, she gave me this number this afternoon, and because she and I have talked about that in the in lieu of taxes. I can't tell you for sure if in this deficit on the revenue, we had an increase of 107,000. I'm not sure yet if she's factored that into this or not. I'm not sure. I mean, so we did have an increase in lieu of, and that was what the police cars and the truck and all that stuff was bought out of for this year. And so I'm not sure if she's factored that number in yet or not. So I don't. If not, that's great, because that'll greatly offset that deficit.
I confirmed that with Sherry. It was, I think we budgeted 700 and came in at 807.
Right. Now, I'm not sure if she's factored that into this projected revenue or not, because like I say, it's still a work in progress.
Any consideration on my recommendation on the resolution? To just move one step forward.
Just keep the process.
Just to keep the process going.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to keep it going. I mean, as long as we get, if James feels like he has the ample time to have this together, I mean, the next workshop, I think, is what, May the 7th?
I think so, yes.
And then meeting will be
14. Backed it up a day, didn't you?
No,
It's gonna be 14.
I left it the 14th.
Is that?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve this.
Okay, have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
And just for the record, that is ordinance 2013-7. There's 3 ordinances on there. Resolutions, excuse me, thank you, sir. 3 resolutions we need to pass.
Can we do it?
Well, let's do them one at a time.
Okay.
And by roll call vote.
Yes.
Do you have something to read for that?
No.
Okay.
The first one is 2013-7.
Okay,
Is
that's-
that your motion, Alderman?
Yes, the
Okay.
first, item D.
Yes. Item C. Excuse me, item D.
Item D.
Yes. Okay. We've got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Costner,
Yes.
Alderman Gregg,
Yes.
Alderwoman Holt,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Okay, item E is consideration of Resolution 2013-8, a resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation bond anticipation notes in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $5,534,000 of the City of Newport, Tennessee, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said notes, establishing the terms thereof, and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal of premiums, if any, and interest on the notes. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution?
And this is just gonna go along with the first one, right?
Yes.
The same principles
Same
apply.
principle.
Yes.
This is the interim financing fee.
Right.
So if you stop one of them, you stop all of them at some point, so.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Vice Mayor Bill Costner,
Yes.
Alderman Gregg,
Yes.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderwoman Holt,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you. Item F is consideration of Resolution 2013-9, a resolution authorizing the issuance of one or more general obligation bonds in an aggregate par amount not to exceed $5,534,000 of the City of Newport, Tennessee, to finance a library and other public buildings, making the provision for the issuance and sale of said bonds and the levy of tax under certain conditions, and authorizing the issuance of bond anticipation notes. Do we have a motion to approve that?
And it goes along with the same one?
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderwoman Holt,
Yes.
Alderman Gregg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Costner,
Yes.
Alderman Bug.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, this is a note. This is a letter that the city got from USDA outlining this loan. Coming back to y'all's discussion, there are 33 items on this, in this letter, conditions you have to meet before you even go out to bids for construction. So, like you were talking about, you still have many more steps to go, of which you can stop the process. And actually, the letter says you basically have 1 year from this February to get all these conditions met before you go out to bid. So you still have lots of time, even from rural development, before you have to make the yes or no decision. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm going to skip G for just a second and move to H on an ordinance. Consideration of ordinance 2013-8, an ordinance to change the term for the city judge from a 2-year term to a 4-year term.
The mayor, I'll read the caption of that ordinance into the record, and as y'all are aware, this is the second reading of this ordinance. It's ordinance number 2013-8, an ordinance of the City of Newport, Tennessee, amending ordinance number 99-1.
Okay, any discussion, or do we have a motion to approve that on second reading?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed is no. I hear none. Back up to item G is discussion of created positions dated February the 14th, 2013. Floor is open to discussion on that matter.
You know, I do have a little discuss, after coming today, before I talked to Fincham about 5 o'clock there, I had my mind made up how I was going to to go about this, but I think if we go about this, we're gonna lose about 7 jobs that have been created illegally, or not illegally, but not by our handbook within our city right now. And after talking to James and Terry, my motion is going to be to leave it as is, to keep those jobs, those 7 people, a job with the city of Newport. And I did not know this until after 5 today. I talked to James and Terry. And I'll be honest with you, my mind was made up to vote yes to do away with these positions because they were not filled properly. But I cannot sit here and vote 7 people out of a job.
Were the jobs created, is that?
No.
I mean, is it not that, that's the part I don't understand. I know we had.
These jobs, the last 7 jobs were not created legally by the handbook.
Coming through us, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I think anybody up there don't want anybody losing a job, obviously, but.
And I did not know that, I'm telling you, until, what time was it, James?
It was after 5, because it's getting close to time for the meeting.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion?
Mayor, is this to approve those positions, or is this to?
Just leave everything like it is.
Leave it alone.
Just leave it alone.
To,
Every one, I'm not saying 2 positions, this says 2. No, it doesn't even give positions, it says one created on February 14th, but if I sit here and vote yes for the February 14th, 2003.
oh, so you're saying anything outside of that?
I'm gonna have to bring back
Okay.
5 other people that I just can't do it.
You can review them later today, can't you?
Okay, who made the second? Okay, any other discussion? Just do a roll call.
Alderman Bud,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Costner,
Yes.
Alderman Gregg,
Yes.
Alderwoman Holt,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, just 2 other quick items that I need to bring up. One of them is kind of old business.
Mayor, can I say one thing real quick?
Sure.
Can we get a list of those jobs, James, that we just approved?
Of those, all 7 of them. We had 1 at recycle, 2 at the garbage pickup, the 2 latest one, that's 5. Help me. 2 in the 1 here at City Hall.
There's 2 separate issues, and one was a position created. The other was it filled by proper channels. And what I have found during my, I keep wanting to call it investigation, because that's the terminology I'm used to. I guess that's what it is.
Same thing.
Yeah. And this is by different direction from different members of the board and the mayor asking me to look into various different things that have taken place. And what I have found is that over a pretty good period of time, there have been a lot of irregularities in the way that positions have been created and filled. And so I spoke to Terry about what I was finding, and we discussed it, and we felt like that the most logical way to move forward, and you're supposed to be telling this, not me.
No.
But was to, instead of, where do you stop? Once you start down that path of, was it filled legally? And when, again, the terminology is properly. Was it created properly? And when you go down the line, it's been a lot of it, the answer to that is no. And so, where do you stop? Do you stop with these 2 people? Do you stop with these 5? Do you stop with these 7, 10? I mean, where does it stop? And so the most logical thing, in my mind, and Terry and I discussed it, and again, I'm giving legal opinions that he gave me. I want his check for tonight. The best thing you can do is make this a jumping off point. and say, and I stole that from Maurice too, I'll have to give you a copyright fee on that, Maurice. And to pledge, we're not gonna do it anymore. From here forward, we're going by the rule. And here's my thing, and I say this all the time. If we don't like the rule, change it. Let's don't circumvent the rule. If we don't like it, do away with it. And then you're not out of whack. Either change it or go by it. That's your two choices.
And James has said that very well. My advice to James, of course, was the legal consequences to the city. If we take action against some employees and others have been treated the same way, then the city's going to be open to legal action. Those employees would certainly have a legal recourse against the city. So that was the basis of our discussion.
And I even thought in my mind, Kenny, about doing away with those positions, open them back up, and giving these people the opportunity to fill out an application and go through the legal process. But after talking to him, and you know, I'm telling you, my mind was made up here to, we've done this before.
Are you setting a date to go forward, James?
Yeah, today.
So today's, I mean, as far as the process and so everything that's previously, are we just saying 7 positions or
We're
there more?
creating amnesty, you know, we're giving amnesty.
I just want to
Anything that may have been done and not been done properly in the past, we're saying we're leaving these people alone. If they were hired improperly, if it wasn't a real position, for whatever, you know, and it's like I say, it's 2 totally separate issues. But what we're saying is everybody's where they're supposed to be, and we're going to move forward.
All right, will you make sure that this list, these positions and this date gets listed in the minutes?
Yeah, I can do that.
So that we know exactly
The positions you're talking about, but now I just went so far back.
Well,
however Freddie's motion
I
works.
made it on 7. I don't know how far back.
Well, let's don't, I would prefer, my recommendation would be, just say all positions and not put a number on it, because there's more than 7, I'll
I
guarantee
think that's
you.
what Bill's saying, is we just leave everything as it.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a number, because that's not gonna be an accurate number.
I mean, that's fine with me. Just strike out from my motion any number.
Do we need to redo that?
Well, we've already roll call voted on his motion.
But I can
Didn't we?
strike it from my motion.
You can make a new motion.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna make sure this is.
Well, that's a very good point, because it does say 7 people. That's a very good point.
Are you trying to vote on a rule that we've got to go back?
We have no rule about it.
Well, we have a procedure for hiring people.
Yeah, we have a rule.
Yeah.
What we're saying
The
is,
procedure,
that
the rule has
where-
been broken.
right,
And we're trying
Okay,
to
I got you.
rectify it
we're
by
saying that
not-
we're not gonna go back and undo what has been done.
especially-
Okay.
We're gonna move forward from here, and we're not gonna repeat those mistakes.
And I don't know how many there are. I know of 7.
Well, we just don't put no number
That-
in.
that's-
Right.
Don't put a number in.
That's my point. If it
Right.
goes back further, if he's talking about going back further than that, it's
From this day on.
10 or 15 or 20.
I don't know how many there is.
Oh, I don't.
And I can't give you a hard number either, because I quit looking. It was taking up a lot of my time that I needed to be spending on this. And it was
I don't think there's any
a
other
distraction for me. And you know, I don't regret doing it. I'm just saying that I went as far as I felt like I needed to go, because I needed to get back to this stuff.
I mean, we may even get back to Fincham and.
Okay, what's your other motion?
I was hired right, brother.
What's your other motion?
I'll make the motion
To leave everything.
to leave everything as is.
As far as the
Just remove the number.
Okay. We have a second?
I've got a question before y'all vote on this. I'm making a speaking out of turn. I've been in the city almost 3 years. People are hard, making like $3 an hour more than I'm making.
And I'm not addressing what they're making, I'm just addressing people that were hired, that's all I'm talking about. I've not even I've not been asked to look at that, I don't know about that, or that I don't know anything about. I'm not talking about rates of pay, I'm just talking about the positions. And I don't know what the procedure's been. The rates of pay are supposed to be based on a schedule of pay that should be already in place.
By the handbook, those positions should have been posted inside the city for every employee to have the opportunity to take those positions.
Also says equal work for equal pay.
Now what's your motion?
I just made my motion.
I'll second that motion.
That cleans that one thing up, I think.
Yeah, just, my motion's the same, just take the number from it.
Okay.
A roll call vote.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Alderwoman Holt.
Yes.
Alderman Gregg.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Costner.
Yes.
Alderman Bode.
Yes.
Thank you. Just these other two quick items right here. One of them, we did pay Scott's severance pay, but there was never any discussion given on the Cobra insurance payment for the length of the time of the severance pay. What's your pleasure on that?
I don't think a motion was made. Did it come up?
The insurance didn't come up.
Didn't get much.
Cindy Moyers called and asked for clarification on that.
Okay.
And I called the mayor and asked him, because he had been charged by you all to work with Mr. Collins on his severance, and he said that it had not been discussed.
Now,
So-
just clear it up for me. Is that part of the severance? And I didn't completely catch that.
No,
I don't think it was, but
not part of the contract either.
he's eligible for Cobra. Is that what Cindy said?
Yeah, he's eligible for Cobra, and what her question was, is he supposed to pay it, or are we? And of course, I said, my understanding was that he was, and she had said that she thought there might be some confusion with him on that. And so I called the mayor, and he said that he couldn't recall it being discussed. He didn't think that it had been addressed.
The only thing I said is most April, and then they pick up. You know, we talked about that.
Right.
So I
But
don't know, we never really discussed it.
do y'all want to discuss it and make a decision? Cindy needs to know, don't you?
Yes, I told her we were going to
So that's why I brought it up. It needs immediate attention.
Well, and in my opinion, no attention would mean the city wouldn't pay anything.
Okay.
We'd need a motion and a vote for the city administrator to pay anything further. The severance pay the check has been written.
Yes.
Did we?
It's my understanding, yes.
We paid his first 30 days, right?
6 months.
It's just
30 days. That's all we got.
Do we have any motions or any other discussion?
First 30 days.
I'll pay the rest of this month, and then
Is that a motion?
I won't have a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to pay for the rest of this month.
Right.
Then he would be obligated from that point on to pay.
Yes.
Okay, that's a motion.
Okay, you need a second.
Yeah, we need a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Is that, are we talking about April? Is April already been paid?
Evidently not. I'm not sure.
It's paid, insurance is paid the month prior to, it's not in arrears.
So regardless, April's already
So if
paid.
you paid for April, it should have been paid April 1 for the month of April.
So this would be for the month of May.
What would be paid in May, May 1st would be for the month of May.
Did we
It's
pay
paid
for the
in
month of April?
advance.
That's what she said, it's already paid.
Yeah, it's
I
already
mean, did
paid.
we pay his Cobra for the month
I
of
don't
April?
know, did we pay it?
She called and asked me who she was supposed to bill. I didn't ask her. Now, she told me, because I was under the impression that his insurance carried to the end of the month. And she said no, that he went on Cobra effectively the day after the termination. So, I didn't get into whether or not it had been paid. She just asked me who was she supposed to bill. And I didn't say, and I told her I was going to have to address that with the mayor and go from there. So I didn't ask her at what point. She just said that his coverage, his employee coverage stopped immediately upon termination. and that he then could switch over to Cobra.
So she would need to know who she needs to pay for the rest of the month of February, March, and April. So you've got about 2.5 months that's in question.
Said you had February, March, and April.
He wouldn't be February, he wouldn't terminate
No.
March the 12th, whatever the day was.
So it'd be half of March and April.
Terminate in March.
Half of March and April.
Half of March and half April.
Has he already picked up Cobra, or do you know?
Now, he might could answer, I don't know.
You haven't picked up Cobra?
No, I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't get into all the particulars. She just, she called me and asked me who to bill. Was it the city or him? And I said it was my understanding it would be him. And she said, well, there was some confusion because what she said was that he thought the city was going to pay it. And I said, well, I'll have to check with the mayor. Nobody's told me that. And so I called the mayor and he said that it had not been discussed. So,
Mayor, what's the point of order?
Sir,
Where are we at? I mean, we had a motion, what was it?
We're gonna have to put this on the agendas. We'll have to
Motion and a
suspend the
second.
rules and put it on the agenda to make it legal.
Yeah, because I had to bring this up because of the time.
So do you need to,
We need a motion to
Motion,
suspend the
then.
rules if we're gonna vote on it.
so you need to rescind that first, Terry?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to suspend the rules to vote on this insurance issue?
I'll make a motion to suspend the
I'll
rules.
say.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed is no. I hear none.
So now we take up a motion if you want to make one.
Right.
I'll make a motion to pay to the end of this month, April. And then they can pick
Is
it
that
up
going back all the way from the day that he was
from the day,
fired?
terminate the end of April, yes.
When did we pay the severance?
I don't know what the date on the,
James?
James, do you remember the day that Scott, or we paid the severance?
it was just a few days afterwards, right after he and the mayor met. I can't remember off the top of my head the date. It was very shortly
It was after
afterwards.
the meeting, right?
Yeah, it was after the meeting.
okay, now we got a motion to pay it through April. Was there a second?
I made the second.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Sherry, does that catch it up clean? Is that, as far as you know?
That would,
For Cindy, does that,
yeah, and I don't know how she'll, I guess she'll have to send a cover bill, and then she will send Mr. Collins a letter, or the insurance company will say that he is eligible for Cobra, and then he will have to elect if he wants it from May 1st.
so does he have 30 days from that point, or will he have 30 days from?
He will have 30 days from May 1st.
Okay.
Now, the way she explained it to me, and I may misunderstood, but the way she explained it to me, he had to go on Cobra then. So it won't be like he'll be going on Cobra 30 days from now, or 30 days from the end of April.
Correct.
He would be on Cobra now.
But my
I mean,
question
for him
is-
to pick it up.
Yeah,
He
well,
would,
he'd have to pick it up immediately. He wouldn't have a 30-day window.
so, okay,
You're eligible from the day of
Right.
your employment ends, but you've got a period of time to elect it, but then
Right.
it retroactives back to that first day that you're no longer employed.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And Sherry knows more
Okay.
about it than
So
I
your
do.
motion is to pay the Cobra.
Until the end of this.
Right, because that's what it is. It's not just,
Yeah.
yeah, because he can't have employee, the way she told me, he could not have employee insurance
Correct.
after
That's
termination.
what she told me.
They'll pay for it until the first of May.
Okay. All right. Roll call, please.
Alderman
We
Bud.
did.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Costner.
Yes.
Alderman Gregg.
Yes.
Alderwoman Holt.
Yeah.
Just for record, that's through the end of April the 30th, not, okay.
Yeah. And that concludes our business. Before we adjourn, I need to ask y'all one more time. I know when we had Pat Hardy to start advertising and securing applications for the city administrator's position, does council still want to screen those, or do we want them, what we catch here locally? And we can still look at all of them, but do we want them to go through the process to screen and say, these are from what we've got, these are your 10 best applicants? And
I think that'd be the best.
rather than us get 35 or 40 in here,
We're getting calls, I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah, there's done been 2 or 3 or 4.
Local people that's
Yeah.
interested.
I mean, we interview who we want to interview, but I think it would be good if they could go ahead and cut some out of it, so that, we're going to know who's not even nowhere near certified.
If they see somebody just that's
Right.
out there, I don't see them bringing it to us.
They're going to bring us all of them, because that's what you had told me to direct him. We wanted all the
How many is he
applications.
talking about? How many has he got?
Last time I talked to him, he had about 20, between 20 and 30, but that's been a couple of weeks ago.
When's it cut off?
16th of May.
Would you want some indication who met the qualifications, as opposed to those that did, where you didn't have to waste your time?
Well, that's what I'm basically asking. Do we want to let them, he can bring us all the applications, but I think they want to let them screen them and bring us a list of 7, 8, 10, 12, whatever they think are the best candidates.
I personally like to see the whole list.
And not even let them screen them at all?
No.
Do they comment on?
Is that your pleasure, council?
I'd
That's
like
just
to see them all too.
Okay,
Better
all right,
selection.
all we gotta do is leave it like it is.
That's my opinion, because we did that at the utilities, because we want to see them all.
Okay. well-
Not to screen out anybody, because there may be.
Now, at some point in time, I'll need to set a date. I think, Jessica, did you and I talk about a date, some dates from council members that they couldn't come after the 16th?
Never heard back from anybody on what was.
Okay, y'all need to let her know in sometime in, after the 16th. Some dates into June that you can't attend. And then if I get that information, I'm going to set a date up that will work with his calendar to meet with us to go over the process one night. And I'm sure that's going to be in June, before we get to go over him to go over the process with us.
You talking about in a workshop setting?
In a workshop setting, yeah. He said it'd take about an hour, hour and a half. And those that's been here before, the process, that's all he wants to do is give us some indicators as to what we need to be looking for. James, did you have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, any other council member? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
After the 16th.